Have you ever stopped to think about why everyone seems happy, but nobody really is? We live in a strange time where showing sadness has become almost a social crime. Every day we're bombarded with messages about how to be positive, how to achieve happiness, how to turn our lives into a fairy tale. But what if I told you that this desperate pursuit of happiness is exactly what makes us more empty? Cioran, a Romanian thinker who dedicated his life to questioning these ready-made truths, had a very different view about what it really means to live. Get ready for a journey that will shake everything you believe about happiness, success, and what really matters in life. Because sometimes, to find something real, we first need to destroy the illusions that trap us. We live under the cruelest regime that has ever existed, the social obligation of constant happiness. Unlike past systems that controlled our bodies, this one controls something much deeper, our emotions. Every day we receive the silent order to smile, to be well, to show that our life is working perfectly. This social pressure has turned happiness into a commodity. It's not enough to feel, you have to prove it. Every moment of joy needs to be photographed, shared, validated by others. The experience only counts when seen and approved by the world. We've created a strange economy where emotions become currency. Have you noticed that there's an entire industry built on our fear of not seeming happy? Books, courses, coaches, apps, all promising the secret formula for a perfect life. It's hard to simply be sad without someone showing up wanting to fix you. Sadness has become a manufacturing defect. Melancholy has become a problem. Questioning life has become a sign of emotional difficulty. But Cioran asks us an uncomfortable question. What if sadness is more honest than this forced joy? What if this discomfort with life is the only sign that we're still thinking? Maybe moments of doubt are the only ones where we're not simply repeating social scripts. The scariest part is that we don't even notice when we're acting anymore. The happiness mask has stuck so tight to our face that we've forgotten our natural expression. We spend so much time pretending to be okay that we've lost touch with what we really feel. We've developed emotional amnesia. We've forgotten that bad feelings are also part of a complete life. Do we still know the difference between living and acting? The modern world has created a new religion, and its god is called positivity. This deity demands daily sacrifices. Every bad experience must be reinterpreted as learning. Every difficulty must be seen as opportunity. Every pain must be transformed into fuel for growth. We became afraid of letting things simply be what they are. We created a reinterpretation factory where nothing can be just bad. Everything needs to have a hidden positive side. Cioran saw this obsession with optimism as a form of intellectual cowardice. For him, excessive hope prevents us from seeing reality. When we paint everything in pink, we lose the ability to see the true colors of existence. It's walking through life wearing filters that artificially beautify everything. Everything becomes pretty, but nothing becomes real. Forced optimism becomes an addictive drug. We need increasingly larger doses of positivity to handle reality. The problem with toxic positivity isn't just individual, it's social. We've created a culture where admitting difficulties is seen as weakness, where questioning the meaning of life is interpreted as negativity. Any deeper thought about the human condition is quickly silenced with ready-made phrases about positive energy and thoughts that attract good things. But real life doesn't work that way. Real life has cloudy days, has meaningless moments, has questions without answers. And Cioran discovered something revolutionary. When we stop denying these dark parts of existence, something interesting happens. We don't become happier, but we become freer. Free from the obligation to pretend everything is okay when it's not. Social media took our natural need for connection and turned it into a competition of who lives better. Every profile is a carefully arranged showcase. Only the best moments are displayed. Everyone hired an art director for their own life, editing out everything that isn't perfect. The result is a digital museum of manufactured moments. We look at others' stories and see incredible trips, perfect relationships, constant achievements, smiles that never leave their place. We compare these edited highlights with our complete reality, including moments of boredom, sadness, and confusion. It's an unfair comparison where we always come out losing. We develop a strange syndrome, envy of lives that don't even really exist. We become jealous of characters created for the internet. Cioran didn't live to see social media, but he would understand this phenomenon perfectly. He always talked about how human beings prefer illusion to truth, especially when the illusion is prettier. Digital platforms are like machines for mass-producing illusions, where each person becomes the director of their own fiction movie. The result is a growing emptiness disguised as connection. We have thousands of followers, but we feel alone. We receive hundreds of likes, but we keep seeking validation. We show a perfect life online, but our real life remains full of unanswered questions. It's like being thirsty while swimming in an ocean of superficial approval. The question Cioran would ask is simple. What happens when you turn off your phone and are alone with your own thoughts? Is there anything real left, or just the echo of the personas we created for the digital world? Emil Cioran was born in Romania in 1911 and spent his entire life doing something most people avoid, looking directly at the most uncomfortable aspects of human existence. He wasn't a pessimist wanting to spread sadness throughout the world. He was someone brave enough to dispense with the consoling lies that society offers. An archaeologist of human emotions who excavated truths we prefer to bury. For Cioran, happiness was a dangerous illusion when transformed into a life goal. Constantly seeking happiness makes us slaves to something we can't control. It's trying to catch clouds with our hands. The more you try, the more frustrated you become. Instead, he proposed something radical. What if we simply stopped searching? What if the search itself was the problem? This wasn't a proposal to give up on life, but to give up unrealistic expectations about it. Cioran discovered something revolutionary. When you stop demanding that life have absolute meaning, it becomes more bearable. When you stop expecting constant happiness, genuine moments of joy become more precious. Life stops being a test you need to pass and becomes an experience you can simply live. The French philosopher, he moved to Paris young, developed a unique form of lucidity. He looked at the absurdity of the human condition, our search for meaning in a universe that seems indifferent to us, and instead of despair, found a strange peace. It was as if he had made peace with the lack of definitive answers. Cioran teaches us that there's courage in recognizing that life doesn't come with an instruction manual, that there's no magic formula for happiness, that maybe our desperate search for meaning is exactly what prevents us from finding genuine moments of tranquility. Modern culture treats emotional difficulties like a virus that needs to be eliminated quickly. Any sign of sadness is bombarded with solutions, therapies, medications, self-help techniques. We declared war against a fundamental part of human experience. We created an emotional pharmaceutical culture where every discomfort needs to be medicated, every emptiness needs to be filled, every unanswered question needs to be silenced. Cioran had a different perspective. For him, difficulties weren't a system error that needed to be corrected, but an inherent characteristic of being alive. He observed that people who never went through difficult moments usually remain superficial. Challenges were necessary to develop inner depth. It's in the abyss that we discover what we're made of. Life's surface is smooth, but depth is in the cracks. This doesn't mean we should seek problems or romanticize them. Cioran wasn't preaching that sadness is good. He simply recognized an inconvenient truth. In a real, complete life, difficult moments will inevitably appear. Our relationship with these challenges determines much about who we become. We can be victims of our problems or students of them. When we accept that difficult moments are part of the package of being alive, something interesting happens. We stop spending energy fighting reality and start learning how to navigate through it. It's the difference between trying to stop a storm and learning to dance in the rain. Cioran noticed that people who had made peace with their own challenges developed a particular form of wisdom. They stopped being afraid of sadness, stopped running from melancholy, stopped treating every problem as an emergency. They discovered that it's possible to face difficulties without being destroyed by them. Maybe Cioran's greatest insight on this topic is simple. When you stop being afraid of difficult moments, they lose much of their power over you. They don't disappear, but they become just another part of human experience, neither more nor less important than joy. There's a huge difference between the loud happiness our culture promotes and a more subtle form of contentment that Cioran discovered. The first needs an audience, validation, constant proof. The second happens in silence, away from spotlights, without needing to be explained or shared. Cioran spoke of moments where life simply makes sense, without specific reason. It's not euphoria, not conquest, not dream realization. It's just a strange quietude where you feel at peace with the fact of existing, even knowing that existence is fundamentally absurd. It's discovering that you can be well in the middle of chaos without needing to solve the chaos first. These moments don't arrive when we seek happiness. They appear when we stop seeking. Life has its own sense of humor. It gives us what we need exactly when we stop demanding what we want. It's a joy that doesn't depend on external circumstances. It's born from acceptance of circumstances. It's like discovering that you can be content even when things aren't perfect. Modern culture taught us that joy needs to be celebrated, photographed, shared. But this silent joy of Cioran's is almost invisible. It happens when you're walking alone and suddenly realize you're well, even without special reason. When you look at the sky and feel inexplicable gratitude for being alive, even knowing that life is difficult. It's an orphan emotion. It has no identifiable origin, but it's absolutely real. This form of peace doesn't come from constant pleasure, but from stopping demanding that life owes us something. When you stop expecting the universe to justify your existence, something loosens inside. You stop carrying the weight of having to find a great purpose and can simply be. It's a silent revolution, discovering that you can be well without being happy all the time, that you can find meaning without needing great explanations, that you can live a good life even when it doesn't make complete sense. Our society has a terror of solitude. At every free moment, we run to fill it with distractions, social media, series, music, anything that prevents us from being alone with our own thoughts. We're afraid to discover who we really are when nobody is watching. We've developed an allergy to silence, a phobia of introspection. Cioran saw solitude not as punishment, but as opportunity. For him, only in silence can we hear our own voice beneath all the social noise. When we're constantly connected, absorbing opinions and expectations from others, we lose touch with our own genuine feelings. Solitude is the laboratory where we discover who we are when nobody is defining us. The solitude Cioran defended isn't bitter isolation or escape from the world. It's a sacred space where we can finally stop acting. When there's no audience, we don't need to maintain any persona. We can put masks aside and simply exist without needing to impress anyone. It's the only place where you can be honest with yourself without social consequences. In this silence, interesting things begin to emerge. You realize which desires are really yours and which were planted by society. You discover what you really like, not what you should like. You find your own opinions, not echoes of opinions you heard around. It's personal archaeology where you excavate your own personality. Cioran discovered that solitude is also where we develop tolerance for ourselves. When you're alone with your defects, your contradictions, your less brilliant parts, you can make a choice. Hate yourself for not being perfect, or learn to live with your own humanity. The clarity that comes from solitude isn't always comfortable. Sometimes you realize you've been living a life that isn't yours, following goals that don't belong to you. But this uncomfortable clarity is infinitely more valuable than the comfortable confusion of never really being alone with yourself. We spend so much time learning to be what others expect that we forget who we were before we started acting. Each social environment demands a different version of us, one for family, another for work, another for friends. In the end, we have so many personas that we lose sight of whether there's still someone underneath all of them. We become professional actors of our own life, but we forget what the original script is. Cioran observed that this multiplication of masks leaves us exhausted. It's tiring to maintain different versions of yourself, remembering which persona to use in each situation, repressing parts of your personality that don't fit the expected role. It's being a full-time actor in a play that never ends. The worst part is that sometimes we don't even know anymore what our true personality is and what's just another well-glued mask. The authenticity Cioran proposed isn't about being perfect or always positive. It's about stopping hiding the cracks. It's admitting that you have bad days, contradictory thoughts, moments of doubt. It's recognizing that being human means being imperfect. Trying to seem perfect is a form of lying. Perfection is the greatest disguise of all. Nobody is perfect, but everyone pretends to be. When you finally let the mask fall, something liberating happens. You stop spending energy maintaining an image and can use that energy to really live. You stop worrying so much about others' approval and can focus on what really matters to you. You discover that authenticity saves much more energy than pretending. The interesting thing is that when you stop trying to impress everyone, you usually end up impressing the right people. Authenticity has its own magnetism. Genuine people attract other genuine people. It's as if, by stopping pretending, you give permission for others to also stop pretending. Cioran understood that assuming your own weaknesses isn't a sign of defeat, it's a sign of courage. Anyone can pretend to be strong. Only the brave can admit when they're vulnerable. And in this assumed vulnerability, we find a different strength. Not the strength of appearance, but the strength of truth. After exploring so many aspects of modern false happiness, we need to take inventory of the main traps that keep us stuck in a life that isn't ours. The first great illusion is believing that we need constant approval from others to validate our existence. We spend so much time seeking likes, praise, and recognition that we forget to ask ourselves if we're living according to our own values. We develop an emotional dependence on others that leaves us vulnerable and empty. The second trap is the cult of material success. Our culture convinced us that happiness can be bought, that external achievements can fill internal voids. But Cioran observed that people who have everything are often the emptiest inside. They won the game, but forgot why they were playing. External success can be a sophisticated form of internal failure. The third illusion is excessive hope, the belief that the future will necessarily be better than the present. This mentality prevents us from finding value in the current moment. We always live hoping that real life will begin when we get that job, when we find the right person, when we reach that goal. But real life is what's happening now, today. In this moment, you're reading these words. The fourth trap is the systematic denial of difficult moments. We try to avoid any emotional discomfort. We treat sadness as if it were contagious. By running from pain, we also run from depth. People who never allowed themselves to genuinely face difficulties often remain emotionally shallow. It's impossible to know light without recognizing darkness. The fifth illusion is perhaps the most subtle, believing that life needs to have absolute meaning, a definitive explanation, a grandiose purpose. This desperate search for meaning prevents us from finding small daily meanings. It's like looking for the ocean while we're thirsty, ignoring the small streams around us. When all layers of illusion are removed, what remains can be scary at first. There are no guarantees, no instruction manuals, no promises of happy endings. But Cioran discovered that exactly in this absence of absolute certainties exists a strange form of freedom. The real is lucidity in the face of the absurd. It's looking at the human condition, our search for meaning in a universe that seems indifferent to us, and not despairing about it. It's finding a strange peace in not having all the answers. It's like making peace with the mystery of being alive without needing to solve this mystery. The real is the courage to exist without great justifications. We don't need a cosmic mission to validate our presence in the world. We can simply be here, observe, feel, experience, without needing to turn everything into a great heroic narrative. Sometimes, just existing is enough. The real are genuine moments of connection with yourself, with other people, with the world. These moments don't arrive when we plan them. They appear when we stop forcing and allow life to simply happen. It's a true conversation with a friend, a sunset that catches you off guard, a book that speaks directly to your soul. The real is accepting that we are contradictory beings. We can feel joy and sadness on the same day. We can love someone and be irritated with that person. We can be certain of something today and doubt tomorrow. This contradiction isn't a defect, it's a characteristic. Human beings are complex, and trying to simplify this complexity is a form of violence against our own nature. Finally, the real is discovering that when you stop demanding that life be different from what it is, it becomes more bearable. Not necessarily easier, but more honest. And in this brutal honesty, Cioran found something our culture lost: the ability to be at peace even when peace isn't guaranteed. Cioran left us an uncomfortable gift: the courage to question everything our society considers sacred about happiness and success. He showed us that maybe we're looking in the wrong place, chasing things that can't be captured, building our life on foundations that don't exist. The true revolution isn't finding perfect happiness, but making peace with life's imperfection. It's discovering that we can live well even without definitive answers, even without guarantees, even without a clear script. Because in the end, real life happens exactly in this uncertainty. And maybe that's where it becomes most interesting.